joining me for another edition of Martin Bindings Fallen Off. This one's a HD28P, P for performance. It's from 1990 and it's missing the binding on the back side. It's still here on the front side, but we gotta do a big old finish repair on the back side there. Even worse on this side right there. Alrighty, let's get started. It's got the scalloped X brace, Sitka spruce top, Indian rosewood back and sides. Like I said, performance means that it's got the performance neck profile. Sounds good. It's got these 12 through 56, I guess that's the bluegrass set, the phosphor bronze strings. Oh geez, look at that heel. Well, it looks like someone snagged their sweater on the binding and they must have snagged something even worse on the neck heel. I won't be fixing the neck heel today, just the binding. Maybe we'll look at fixing the neck heel in the future when it needs a neck reset. Alright, so I taped back on what he brought me, the missing pieces anyways, to see if there was any bits missing. And indeed there is a 5-inch strip of the purfling that's missing. So I'm going to take this 20/1000 of an inch that I got from StewMac, it's the ABS plastic, and rip it on the bandsaw real quick and use that instead of what's, for what's missing. Alright, it might seem simple, but it's not. Stick around because there's going to be, like I said, a lot of finish repairs that need to be done, and we're going to have to recolor the binding because a lot of the lacquer, the yellowed lacquer, is chipped off, and we're going to have to color match. We're going to have to sand it off, color match it to this side. So the back needs to match the front. It's a lot of work. So this is the residue that's left in the binding channel. And you can see that it's kind of a rubbery, boogery kind of glue. It's not rock hard. It's, an aliphatic resin of sorts, or a polymer, I guess. And first I kind of rub it with that file and it gets it kind of, it gets it moving. And then I can kind of clean it up with water or soapy water. I like to use Simple Green for all this kind of. I keep a little vial of the Simple Green handy. I test a little area with acetone. Acetone works too, but it's pretty dangerous to use acetone near your lacquer finish. I tested a little area of this finish with the acetone and it sure is lacquer. It's not any kind of polyurethane. So a little file, a little sharp tool of some kind, you can, after you get it wet, you can kind of clean it off. I mean, if this is the kind of thing you like to do, feel free to do your own binding repairs at home. You can buy all these little tools and glues at the hardware store. Now, the glue, you can't really get a solvent to get it to clean off the ABS binding part of the glue up, so I have to mechanically remove it. I'll do that with 220 grit sandpaper, and then I'll glue the purflings back in place with Titebond 3. It's always been Titebond 3 for me. Titebond 3 with lots of glee. It's always worked. Most of my friends have switched to something called canopy glue, which I'm sure is the same exact thing as Titebond 3, because everybody before that I knew was using Titebond Original and it wasn't working for them, and I would tell them I used Titebond 3, and no one ever listened to me. So I continue to use Titebond 3 with tons of glee. Okay, except for this area here, this is that 5-inch strip that I had to fabricate the purfling. The reason I'm using gel CA glue to stick it on is because I can't really use the tape comfortably here because it's slightly oversized. It's not exactly the height of the channel. And I'm gluing 2 layers. I have a white layer and a black layer. The white layer is the ABS plastic that I ripped on the bandsaw, and the black layer is actually wood purfling. So it's a maple wood purfling that's been dyed black, and I buy it this way from Stuart McDonald. I use this tool to push down and push in at the same time. It's a little plastic spatula, and it's instantly stuck. The purfling is done. I'll let it sit overnight. I'll come in the morning and heat it up with the heat gun on a low setting. I heat up the tape so that I don't pull too much of the lacquer off, but as you saw around the waist area, there's a lot of lacquer that's coming off already on its own. So a few little chips are going to come off with the tape. No big deal. I'm going to scrape off some additional additional lacquer around the waist. Any of the loose stuff, I want to get rid of it and reapply the finish. I don't want my new finish to just come bubbling off or flaking off with that old loose stuff, so I want to mechanically remove the loose stuff. And after this tape is removed, I'll get that 5-inch area of my fabricated purfling down to the height of the back. I did that with my nut and saddle file and my oval shaped mini scraper. Also, those 2 tools, Stuart McDonald. So the Luth group has been around for 5 years now. They just celebrated 5 years. And I'm celebrating 6.5 years in business. Here I am with the Titebond 3. And here we go with the old binding. I go around, I press, and I wipe off any of the squeeze out with a dry paper towel. I don't want to use a wet paper towel because that might prohibit my tape from sticking. And then this is how I clean off the ABS binding. You have to mechanically remove this old stuff. It's a brown aliphatic or PVA. Just use a marking knife. Get the bulk of it off. And then I use 220 grit sandpaper on a foam block. I'll lay it down on the carpet so that I don't crumble off too much of the ambered lacquer that's on the other side of the binding. I use Titebond 3 not because I'm frugal, because it works. If I was frugal, I wouldn't be using the good binding tape from StewMac and their fancy tape dispenser. Actually, I have 2 of those. I have one downstairs with the orange binding tape, which is a more stretchy tape, and then the one up here has the brown binding tape, which is the stronger. It's very strong. But it rarely causes the lacquer to peel off with it. So that's what I like. I push the binding with my thumb before I stretch the tape out around it. Just want to press it into the channel. Press and stretch. Press and stretch. Here we are. Another day, another dollar. Today I'll use the hair dryer on high setting. There's one area that I have to fill a gap. Right there. I'm going to fill it in, even though it's sitting right next to that monstrosity of a neck heel. This neck's been refinished too. I don't know what this guy's son has been into, but he said he loaned it to his son. He just got it back after 10 or 20 years, and man, was it in bad shape. He said his son is in the doghouse. But now my customer, he's retired now, and he's set to go off to the Tommy Emmanuel guitar camp. Yep, a week-long camp here in Nashville, and he's going to wear the Harpeth Guitar Restoration t-shirt the whole time. Alright, so all the tape is off. Now I've got to scrape off that ugly ambered lacquer that's half chipped off. Here I made a tape crab. For all you guys from Maryland, you can appreciate this one right here. Tape crab. I think this calls for some accelerator. And it's a good thing I wore glasses, because both of those chips of lacquer flew, and they would have landed directly in my eye if I was not wearing glasses. It's good to be blind. Okay, so this is that ambered, crumbled, half-missing lacquer around the waist. I had to scrape it off both sides around the waist. A good 8-inch area that I just figured I would refinish and recolor. I'll clean with naphtha, and then I will use my micro applying brush to put in the ultra thin glue boost fill-in finish, because I want it to go down in underneath the lacquer. It's lifted still in a couple little areas. I want to make sure the ultra thin goes down in there. After a few shots of the accelerator, I'll go in with the lip brush, and I've switched to the glue boost fill and finish thin. No more of the ultra thin. This is my build coat, so I'm using the regular thin. I'll go back to the ultra thin after I sand. I'm sanding with, well, first I started with some 600 grit on thumb when I realized it's going to take a little more than 600. It took 400 and 300 on a foam pad, and then 600 also on a foam pad. I used a 300 and a 400 to make sure I've got it 100% smooth, and then I used the 600 to take out the scratches from the 400. Then I take these half sheets of paper towels, and these are not the Viva, these are the Bounty paper towels, and I wipe on the ultra thin, 3 coats. Now that it's 100% smooth and it has 600 grit scratches, I can go to the application with paper towels. And you can't see it, but I fold up a smaller piece of paper towel inside of the paper towel, but the smaller piece is coated in wax. And that's a barrier that keeps the glue boost from transferring all the way through the paper towel and onto my glove. A little trick I came up with, really. That's about the only thing in the world I've ever come up with on my own. That was me sanding again with 400 grit before wiping on the ultra thin. But after the ultra thin, I accelerate and let it set for a few hours and do some other stuff. And then I come back with 1000 grit on foam. And this is a thicker foam. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. Stuff I was using earlier is about a 1/4 inch thick with the 400 grit. Once I get up to 1500 grit on the project, I go back in with the ultra thin, and I use the master tints from Glue Boost. I'm using the brown and the yellow, which gives me kind of a dirty brown, dirty yellow. After a few wipes, I could see that it needed a little red, so I added just a tiny bit of the amber master tint. So I've got 3 colors going in. I'm wiping it on with the micro brush, and I'm looking at the binding over here to the left on the front side of the guitar, the top side, and I'm going to keep wiping it on here till it matches pretty close. I've got so much LED lighting going in the room, everything probably looks washed out. But I'll pause here for a second and move it around in the light so you can really see where I'm going with this coloring. Okay, so you can see how it's real white right here because I sanded it off. But on the other side that I just treated, this side, that it's in the ballpark of the rest of the binding. I still have to buff it, but so far I've gone up to 1500 grit to put on the color. Now I'll go 2000 or maybe, yeah, 2000 and the polishing compound, or maybe, you know, I think just the polishing compound will do it. So let me treat this side with the color. I also got this area down here. And then we'll polish it out. This is the Meguiar's Ultra Cut Compound. That's the Mirror Glaze branded stuff. And this is my new Random Orbit Right Angle polisher. It has like a 12-foot cord, so it's an automotive wax and polisher kind of thing. You can do your car with it, and so it has a really long cord, so I can plug it in way over there and come way over here. I like to use it on this setting number 2. Actually, it was, when I started off, it was on setting 1. That's because I was using it for waxing the last time I used it. That's why I cranked it up to 2. Then when I switch over to the wax, I'll drop it back down to 1. Hot damn, this is looking good. Damn. Before I do my favorite part, which is wax on, wax off, check out the signature that I found inside the guitar. C.F. Martin IV. The man, the myth, the legend. Doesn't that binding look just peachy? Zoda Random Orbit Polisher. I think a little wax and she'll be looking mighty beautiful. Here's the Meguiar's. I'm just going to put a little here. It doesn't take a lot. Told you it was going to look good. You know what? It feels good too. It's nice and smooth. Yeah. Can you believe it? Start to finish, this whole job, half hour. Just kidding. It took me like 8 hours. best thing really, no spraying. We got away with absolutely no lacquer spraying. It's all indoors, right here in my little studio. You guys have a good week. Thanks for tuning in and subscribing. We got up to 11,000 subscribers a couple weeks ago. Appreciate you guys. Catch you later.